Hi, I'm Mark Oliva from the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Welcome to another edition of our updates here on SHOT Show TV. With me today I have Kyle Lamb from Viking Tactics and Ryan Cleckner from Gun University. Both guys are here, both veterans, very well versed on firearms, and specifically we want to talk today about AR-15s, and we wanted to be able to have a discussion of how we go about talking to folks. So first let me ask you this, Kyle, we'll start with you. Let me ask you about your introduction to both the AR-15 and to the M16 in your time.
So I grew up in South Dakota, and I hunted a lot when I was a kid. I always looked at the AR-15 and I said, man, I wish I had one of them, but I didn't have one. And my dad was born in 1911, so he probably wasn't into ARs like I would eventually get into them. But joined the military. They handed me a M16 and I thought, wow, this is incredible. Then I shot it the first time and I went, this is a really easy gun to shoot. It's lightweight, all those features that I wish I would have had as a kid hunting, and that was kind of my first introduction.
Ryan, tell me about yours.
Very similar. Grew up hunting, never had an AR-15, thought they were cool. Basic training, the M16, I remember looking at it going, that's really tiny bore. Because I didn't know at the time how small that bullet was, and the same thing at the range. Just, oh, this is really easy to shoot.
Yeah, fun gun.
Recoil, it's so much fun. I think that's why it's so popular now, is we have all these veterans getting out. Not only is it modular and easy to shoot, but it's what we're familiar with, because that's where the controls are supposed to be. We know how to use it. It's lightweight. Yeah.
Sure, and you obviously both do a lot of instruction with experienced shooters and with people who are just getting into the shooting sports. And when you're trying to explain to folks the differences between the M16 and the M4 variants and the AR-15s, what are the things that you try to point out where these are two separate firearms, two classes of firearms, even though they do look very similar?
Yeah, I would say that maybe I don't delineate that enough, because I feel like you should understand the difference between a short-barreled rifle, a full auto weapon, or a 3-round burst weapon, and a standard AR-15. I normally don't have to explain much there, because common sense normally prevails. Sometimes in government it may not prevail, but I also push for a 16-inch barrel. Some folks say, oh, you want a short barrel. I like the longer barrels. I don't care if you have a shorter barrel, but for me, I got pretty long arms. I like a longer barrel, so what's issued in the military, I would actually make the barrel a little longer so that in the military and in civilian use, we would have the same system. I'm not a big fan of full auto in the first place. For a machine gun, absolutely. But for an M4 or a M16, I don't even think it's needed for those weapon systems. And that may be a little weird, but I like to hit what I'm shooting at, so I can shoot much faster and more accurately with single trigger pulls.
Sure. And Ryan, how do you go about talking to folks who are getting into the shooting sports and making them understand that you're not using a weapon of war, you're not using a rifle that's being used in the military, that it is a very different firearm, even though many of the components are the same?
I like analogies, and so I like to analogize guns to cars a lot. So I say, even though the two cars might look the same on the outside, they might be the same color, the same shape, one might have an automatic transmission and one might have a manual. So this AR-15 that you have to pull the trigger every single time for one bullet, that's the manual. You got to do a little bit of work for it. And even though it looks the same, it's not the fully automatic in there. And I agree with Kyle. We had a unofficial standing rule that if you ever shot your gun in full auto, you're probably going to get fired. Yeah. Because it was just a waste of ammunition and not be able to hit anything anyway.
So let's talk about, obviously you do a lot of instruction, but you guys both also spend a lot of time in the field. So tell me about the applications of the AR-15 platform, the AR-10 platform, when you're out there hunting.
Why would I not use that weapon system? First of all, if you're going to be humane, follow-up shots can be made a lot quicker with an AR platform than they can with the bolt gun. I don't have a problem with bolt guns. I love all guns, but I like it because I can get in one position, I can shoot, I can call my shots, and then I can make a follow-up shot if I need to. If you're hunting coyotes, you can quickly get on moving animals. You can shoot quickly to make another follow-up shot there. They're normally more accurate than a lot of the weapons that guys are carrying in the field to begin with. It's modular, so you can change out the upper for I'm going to the range to shoot with my kids to I'm going out to shoot, I want to shoot a 6mm Creedmoor here. I want to change that to 6.5 or 308 or whatever it might be. And it's a comfortable weapon to shoot. Not a lot of recoil. It's just if you don't own an AR-15, I don't know what's wrong with you, because it's awesome.
And Ryan, what do you find your application? When you're out, obviously you've done a bunch of different types of hunting.
I'm warming up to it. So Kyle and I just went elk hunting end of last year, December, in Wyoming, and we both brought AR-10s. So Kyle, you shot a 6mm Creedmoor, I shot a 6.5 Creedmoor. I know we made some people's heads explode because they're used to seeing a woodstock bolt gun. And again, I love bolt action rifles. I really do, but The AR-15 has an ejection port cover. Keeps the dirt out of the bolt where a bolt gun doesn't. It's easy to unload. If you get back to a truck, the magazine just comes out. It's easy to manipulate a safety. It's easy in an alternate position to be able to have that pistol grip. Just, it's so conducive to being used, which by the way is why it's so popular. I don't know why more people don't hunt with them.
So when we're talking about these guns, or we're talking about these rifles, and we know what we're talking about in the gun world, and we're trying to translate that to others, or even trying to convince others that maybe you should try the AR platform for a field hunting application. What are some of the things that we should be talking about in our community to make that conversation a little bit easier to have with those who might not be convinced so much?
Why don't you grab that one first?
Well, I like Kyle's thought of easy follow-up shots. If you want to be a hunter, I think you should be an ethical hunter.
Yeah.
You should never want an animal to suffer. You should always want a clean, humane kill. And a follow-up shot and an accurate shot are the two best ways maybe to do that. And the other is if you're going to spend time mastering and learning a weapon system, might as well learn the one that you can use for other things too. And again, I love my bolt gun hunting rifles, but those aren't necessarily great for defense. Those aren't necessarily great for sport shooting. If you have only a limited budget and limited time, get yourself an AR-15 or an AR-10, and now your training has a lot more mileage to it, you have a lot more use out of the gun. And my wife's favorite gun to shoot is an AR-15. Not because it looks cool, but because the buttstock adjusts.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to grab the grip, it's easy to manipulate the safety and not have to worry about where it is. It's low recoil, it's easy to shoot. So if you're gonna do it, pick that one. And then if you want, add on the extra guns later, but I think that should be a good base gun.
Yeah, and that's a good point. All body styles will work with an AR-15 with the collapsible buttstock. And then the other thing I was going to bring up, there are other weapon systems out there other than the AR-15. I know that's kind of where we're at, but the SCAR, you've got the MCX, you can fold the stock, you can put it in a backpack for quickly getting up a mountain or whatever. There's so much great innovation out there. That innovation started back with the LR300. Our buddy Alzetta with this folding stock AR, and now look where we're at today. You can get a hunting rifle that you can fold the stock, put it in a backpack, put it on the side of a mule to go up a hill, pull it out, you're totally comfortable with it. No matter how big your cheek is, you can make it work. Yeah. It's just a great system.
And caliber changes. With the bolt guns that have these, SHOT Show we see all these caliber change systems, which are great, but you need headspace gauges and you need wrenches and all the figure. On an AR, if you're mildly competent with mechanical things, you can change the barrel and change calibers pretty easily at home, and you don't have to worry about headspace. You don't have to worry about safety issues.
So we're talking a little bit, you guys touched on it, about the modularity, the ability to be able to fit the different body styles. And obviously with the training that you guys offer in Viking Tactics and the training that Ryan, you've shown even on NSSF channels.
Great videos.
I mean, how important is it to be able to have a firearm like this that you can take someone who's a beginner shooter, someone who is a very experienced shooter, and take them to advanced? How important is it to have something like we have with the AR-15 platforms, with modern sporting rifles?
I think it's super important because once again, it's modular, it's accurate. You're very confident with this platform. You can, close the dust cover like Ryan said and keep the dirt out. I have 22s like that, like the M&P 15 22, great training tool for, for kids. And then they can pick up the full-size system. And it's not going from a gun that's nothing like what they would take in the field. It's the exact same system. It's just a smaller caliber and they can shoot it. And look at what's going on in the, what do they call these matches now? The PRS matches. These guys shooting these gas guns. They're doing things that we never thought possible with 6mm, 6.5. It's unbelievable the accuracy that they're getting out of these weapons. Loophole now, they're building scopes just for that system. So 5 to 25s and 7 to 35. I think 7 to 35 they just came out with. That's specifically for that platform in that game, and that's gonna transcend there into the hunting world. So it's just fun. It's just.
And how easy, Ryan, is it for you when you're trying to introduce a new shooter, when you're taking this rifle and put that in their hand, to kind of break through some of the myths and some of the preconceptions of what shooting is, and to be able to give them a firearm that's going to be able to fit them fairly quickly and fairly easily?
There's a good point in your question there, it does fit them easily, it's easy to work on. The first thing I do with any sniper students is I make sure the gun fits them. And as Kyle's talking about, it's so much easier when I can just adjust the stock to them and not have to move scopes and do things like that. And the second thing I have to worry about after they get the fundamentals down is keeping them reloading their gun, because so many guys love to sit there and shoot a target and stare at their pretty hit. Well, an AR takes care of that for me, so that's kind of nice too. But with new shooters, I love the 22 long rifle AR-15s. Because they're super lightweight and there's really no recoil. I put a silencer on one of them, say, here you go, let's learn with this. You can talk, they can get used to the controls, they can get used to the operation, and once they're familiar with it, now I can put a 223 variant in their hands, and it's the same controls, it's the same everything. And then when people get into shooting and they want to customize something, well, it's going to cost you a fortune to customize a bolt gun. On an AR, you can change the handguard out, you can personalize it, you can do whatever you want.
All right, last question. Favorite AR platform and what you like to hunt with it?
Oh my goodness, that's kind of a loaded question.
Isn't it though?
So my favorite AR platform would be the ones that I've built. So
Sure.
we've done this one with SIG that's an awesome gun. It's an M400, so it's a direct gas system. Pistons are fine. For some reason, I like that direct gas. I like a mid-length gas system, so the gun shoots very softly. I can put a suppressor on, and it'll still run really well. I'm going to tell you, I've been shooting these Wyoming Arms ARs. For the last 2 years, I've used a Wyoming Arms AR and 6mm Creedmoor. One, they're really accurate, and what I like about the 6mm, some would say it's too small for an elk, but 243s killed a ton of elk, and that's basically what a 6mm Creedmoor is, but with a heavier bullet. And Wyoming Arms guns, you can watch your hits when you shoot.
Yeah.
That's a big thing in hunting, because a lot of times guys will shoot, boom, the gun recoils so much, and then they got to cycle a bolt to get back. Where'd my target go? With that AR and 6mm Creedmoor, I can shoot the animal, I can watch the gun recoil slightly, come right back on target, and see if I need to make a follow-up shot. So I'm going with the Wyoming Arms 6mm Creedmoor, and I'm going with the VTAC version they build at SIG. It's just they call it the SDI. That's a direct impingement, SIG direct impingement. That'd be the two guns. Oh, and also it has an M-LOK forend, so I can put whoever's section of rail on there. I can put a bipod on it. I can put a vertical grip. I can do whatever I've got to do just like that. We all can do that. It's not just me. You don't have to have any mechanical skills. If you can turn screws, you can put it on there.
Yeah.
And how about you, Ryan? You said that you've recently kind of shifted over into using the ARs into more hunting.
I have, and so I like AR-10s because I like bigger bullets and shooting out there, and AR-10s have always seemed to be plagued with some sort of operation issue to me throughout the years. Either it's hard to lock the bolt to the rear, or they don't eject properly. There's just, no one really quite figured it out, and my current favorite just all around using gun, a commercial at the gun store gun, is the Barrett Rec 10. I did some of the NSSF videos with it.
Yeah.
It just runs, it's a fun gun to shoot. But I have to agree with Kyle also, I have to throw in two here. On the trip, the rifle that I brought with me, I didn't have it set up right, it wasn't working for me. And Wyoming Arms said, you know, we got one here, you want to borrow this thing? I said, sure. I had mine in 6.5 Creedmoor, and you got down behind the rifle, and again, it doesn't have to fit me. I just adjust it, and wow, that was really easy. Dead on where I wanted it to be.
And we use suppressors. Can I tell the story real quick? So Ryan and I are like, here's these elk, let's make a move on them. So we start making our move like we're back in the military.
We were actually
really
low crawling a little bit.
We low crawled over the top of this hill. These elk are crashed out. Both the elk that we killed were laid down. And I know some people are like, oh, you got to get them to stand up. That's ridiculous. They have no idea.
Right now.
They have no idea we're there. We crawl up into position. Ryan gives me a few pointers when we get into position, because I didn't have my bipod extended up. I was using the new Magpul bipod. I didn't extend. I'm like, well, let's cross shoot, because I can see the ones over here. You can see these over here. And then I did a sniper countdown, just like we're back in the military. I'm like, stand by, snipers ready, fire. Soon we both shoot suppressed. Both our elk go down. Mine never got up. His stood up, walked like 10 yards, and was done. Both out of commission. And the guy that was
5,000 yards away.
Yeah, 1,000 yards behind us. He's like, yeah, I guess only one guy shot, because we shot at the exact same time. 2 elk down. We got food for our family. I mean, elk meat, if you haven't had it, it's awesome. But I'd say if you haven't hunted with an AR, get out and do it.
But we were able to do it because we were on our knees, kind of half low crawling. And if we needed to shoot from there, we could have, because it was an AR platform. Where a bolt gun might have been more difficult. And then I was able for a follow-up shot if I needed. As soon as my elk got up, I'm sitting there talking, do I shoot again? Do I shoot again? It's because I could. I didn't have to think about running the bolt.
Yeah, and the elk got kind of intermixed, or he would have shot again. Anyway, it was awesome.
Well, great. Kyle, Ryan, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come down, talk about these firearms, talk about the reasons why we should be looking a little bit more closely at them, and what we're going to be able to share with the folks that we get out to the field and shoot with, both on a training range and out in the hunting element. So appreciate it. Thank you so much, folks. I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I'm Mark Oliva with the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Have a great SHOT Show.